Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of EK17 News. So if you are a person who's really caring about environment is everything surrounding us, right? So here's something that you should know about carbon footprints. From using less plastic to eating less meat, it seems like almost all anyone is talking about these days are ways to reduce our carbon footprints. But what is a carbon footprint exactly and how it is related to climate crisis? Here are some answers. What is a carbon footprint? A carbon footprint is basically the total amount of greenhouse gas emissions that anything, a person, organization, event, or products had produced. Greenhouse gases are the gases in the atmosphere that produce the greenhouse effect and contribute to global warming and climate change. So, your carbon footprint is a way to measure the environmental impact your lifestyle has. For example, if you try to work every day, your carbon footprint might be bigger than someone who relies on public transport because you're emitting more greenhouse gas. How it is calculated? It works by summing up the emissions from all your activities, everything from what you eat to what setting you wash your clothes with. It it is all measured in carbon dioxide equivalent, which stands for carbon dioxide equivalent, and it is standard unit for measuring carbon footprints. It essentially takes any quantity or type of greenhouse gas and expresses in the amount of carbon dioxide that would have the equivalent global warming impact. It just allows us to easily compare impacts across different gases. How do you know what your carbon footprint is? There are a number of online calculators that can help you figure out your carbon footprint, including one by the Nature Conservancy and another from the US Environmental Protection Agency. Once you know your carbon footprint and what part of your lifestyle contributes the most to it, you can then find ways to lessen your impact. Carbon footprint figures that might surprise you. Meat products have bigger carbon footprints per calorie than grains and vegetables. That's because animals like sheep, goats, or cattle produce a lot of methane gas. In 2016, they produced 170 million metric tons in carbon dioxide equivalent of methane, according to a carbon footprint fact sheet compiled by the Center for Sustainable Systems at the University of Michigan. And yes, all that ends up in atmosphere. Meat isn't the only problem, the center says. Dairy products like cheese and yogurt contribute almost 19% of greenhouse gas emitted, even worse than poultry, and eggs, which only contribute 14% of greenhouse gases. Vegetables, meanwhile, contribute a mere 4.9%. The center found that on average, one American household emits 8.1 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent each year through food consumption alone. Yes, that's tons. The production of food accounts for 83% of emissions and its transportation accounts for 11%. And the fact sheet points out that if you follow the speed limit, not only will you not get a ticket, you also improve your fuel economy by extension, shrink your carbon footprint through greater fuel efficiency. You will also be better off literally. The center found that when driving 50 miles per hour or more, every 5 miles per hour increases is equivalent to paying between 20 and 40 cents more per gallon. Speaking of your commute, transportation is one of the biggest producer of carbon dioxide, only behind electricity generation, according to environmental advocacy group New Energy. Reducing waste, surprise, actually makes a difference. For every 10% of waste reduction, you can avoid 1,200 pounds of carbon dioxide equivalent, according to the Center for Sustainable System. And that's not just recycling, that also simply by buying products with less packaging and refusing plastic bags at the grocery store. New Energy says that fossil fuels and coal are the source of 67% of generating electricity. If you are trying to reduce your carbon footprint, think about the next time you leave the lights on. Corporations, unsurprisingly, have the biggest carbon footprints of all. Just 100 companies are responsible for more than 80% of the world's emissions, according to a 2017 report from the nonprofit CDB in collaborations with the Climate Accountability Institute.